Hey everyone, welcome to the College Lead YouTube channel. My name is Kristen and I'm here to help you perfect your college application process. On my channel, I cover everything from how to plan and structure your extracurriculars all the way up to what the heck to even write about in your personal statement. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to subscribe. As you all know, the college application process is officially done for most of the colleges that my students have applied to. So congrats to all the seniors who are now done. This is now your chance to relax. You've done your work, you put in all those hours, and now just focus on your upcoming AP tests, but then also on just taking a breath and relaxing and being excited for the next phase in your life where you will go to college. For everyone else watching this, be sure to watch from the very beginning to the end. I will be covering tips on how to craft a strong and unique personal statement, whether it is an essay for a college application or for a summer program that you're applying to. So let's get started. While since I posted a video, and I usually try to post a video every week or so, but I think in just the last couple of weeks I experienced a little bit of burnout from a mixture of multitasking with my full-time job and then also working with students one-on-one throughout the college application process. As you know, a lot of regular decision deadlines occurred around January, and I was just piled up with work until then. So I decided to take a break for some self-care and for some nice R&R, and now I'm back. As I was thinking about what video to share with you all when I come back to the YouTube channel, I thought of something that I began creating as I, over the course of the last few months, reviewed, not joking, hundreds of college application essays. Over the course of reviewing these essays, I found myself giving similar feedback with the same theme. For instance, make the sentence more concise, bring out the main message in your essay, and other themes like those over and over and over again. So what I decided to share now at the end of the college application process are some of those tips that I found myself repeating to my students so that hopefully you can benefit from them too. I've noticed that there's a tendency in response to the why this college prompt for a lot of people to write a response that talks about how they would contribute to the campus community. But there is a key piece missing. Let's take Brown's prompt as an example. I'll read it off from my laptop. At Brown, you will learn as much from your peers outside of the classroom as in academic spaces. How will you contribute to the Brown community? One thing that I noticed a lot of students did well is describe how they would contribute to the Brown student body, whether it is through extracurriculars or different research programs or other study abroad programs. One key piece, though, that is missing is that being part of a community is not just a one-way street. Like any friendship, being part of a community means that you will contribute to the community, but then you will also learn from the community as well. You will not always be teaching about environmentalism or climate change if that's something that you're passionate about, or participating in debate and sharing topics that you are particularly interested in. There's also a component of learning from the peers around you. And from my perspective, as someone who has already graduated from college, this is probably the greatest asset that any college campus can offer to you as a student. It's the people who you will be taking classes with and be surrounded with throughout those 4 years of college. There's just something incredible to be said around being surrounded by a lot of other students who are as equally motivated and passionate as you are in different areas. And that's a huge learning opportunity, not only to be inspired, but just to broaden your perspective of the world. So in addition to talking about how you would contribute to a community, be sure to equally highlight how you hope that you will learn from your peers. Going in as a student ready to contribute is great, but even better is going in as a student who is ready to contribute, but also has an open mind to receive and learn from his or her or their peers around them. The next tip I have kind of alludes to something I've already talked about in one of my previous videos on how to answer the prompt. But as you can probably guess, there have been a considerable number of essays I've reviewed that don't actually answer the prompt. Oftentimes they will partially answer the prompt but leave out a portion. For an example, check out the video that I posted for more information. How you can make sure that you've answered the prompt is to do a reverse outline. So take your essay and then write an outline based on what is already in your essay. Separately, write an outline based on what the prompt is asking you. And then compare those two outlines side by side and see how they line up. If there are any details that are missing in your essay that is included in the prompt, this is something you will want to write into your essay. This is probably the easiest mistake to fix and one of the worst mistakes you could make. So definitely check and be sure. Worst case scenario, you don't need to change anything because you've already answered the prompt, but it really doesn't hurt just to check. The next part is a little tricky and it's going to be a little difficult for me to provide an exact example, but I'll try my best. This tip is to include only the details that are essential to the story that you are telling in your essay. I like to think about this in terms of an analogy. So let's say that I am serving you a cup of orange juice. Now the cup is about half full of orange juice and I have two options on how to fill up the rest. I can either add water or I can add orange juice. If I add water, that will dilute the taste of the orange juice, so not good. Or I can add more orange juice and that will just give whoever I'm serving more of the sweet taste of orange juice, which is great. Another option I have is just not to add anything at all, and maybe that will make the person I'm serving appreciate orange juice all the more just because there are so few. So whenever you're thinking of adding details into your essay about a personal story, ask yourself, is this detail water or is this detail orange juice? You have three options to consider. One is to not include that detail. The second is to change and modify that detail. And the third is to just add that detail. And to make that decision, you want to ask yourself, is this detail orange juice? Is it going to add more flavor to my essay and provide the details that will enhance my narrative? Or is this water? And will it make my story less powerful because I've added too many non-essential details that sort of dilute the message of my story? A good example of what I mean by orange juice versus water is in the classic story of the tortoise and the hare. People think in terms of stories and remember the stories and emotions involved. So in terms of the tortoise and hare, we remember what happened. It's a story. There's a tortoise and there's a hare and they're going along in a race. The tortoise ends up winning and the hare ends up losing. The reason why goes back to the morals. That is an excellent story. And every single one of those details is orange juice. It's essential to that key piece of the story. A non-essential detail might be what color the hare was, what color the tortoise was, or what kind of tortoise it was, where exactly they ran the race. Obviously, all these details might be included in the actual story itself, but if you're limited to the context of a personal essay in a college application essay or in a personal statement, you might want to include just the key features of the story so that you can talk about more about the moral or the lesson that you learned from that experience. And that's really where you can start advocating for yourself. So a detail like the color or the species of the hare or the tortoise, that's not essential, so that's water. If you add in that information, it may very well dilute the message or moral of the essay or the taste of the orange juice. If you add in more orange juice, all the better. If you talk about what went on in the hare's mind before it decided to pause and take a nap, that could be essential to the moral of the story and help shed more light on the meaning. So think about what is orange juice and what is water for your essay. And be sure to include just the orange juice and cut out all the water. I'll keep my next tip short and sweet. Avoid anything overly personal and avoid writing anything that could potentially put you in a negative light. Here's what I mean by that. Let's say that you're writing an essay and you talk about how you didn't have much interest in school until you took AP biology, and then all of a sudden that opened a whole new door for you and you got interested in AP biology and chemistry and microbiology and now want to major in biology and pursue a career in medicine or in research. That is great, especially if that truly was the case for you. However, reconsider how you describe what you were like before you developed a passion in biology. Rather than saying something along the lines of, I wasn't as motivated to do well in school or to be engaged in the classroom, say something along the lines of, I hadn't discovered my passions until I did X, Y, and Z. That little change of wording is essential because you never want to imply that A, you're unmotivated to learn, and B, didn't do well in the classroom. So if you were truly unmotivated to go to school, Then talk instead about what it was like searching for your passions. Talk about the other side of the table. You don't want to imply or have that association in your reader's mind between you and an unmotivated student. My last tip is to always start with the why. When you read an essay prompt, the first question that should come up in your mind is, what kind of student would I like to portray myself as? What is the key message or the key characteristic I want to demonstrate about myself in this essay? So let's take one of the comment app prompts as an example so I can explain what I mean. So in this prompt, I'll just read it out loud. It's prompt number 2 for Common App. The lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? Now, the trick to this prompt is to start with the last question, which is, what did you learn from the experience? So if I were you, I would start off with thinking about your different experiences throughout high school and what you've learned and how you've grown over the course of those 4 years. Try to keep your story limited to when you were in high school, rather than talk about a lesson you learned in middle school, unless it was particularly life-changing. You want to try to keep things relevant and keep things recent, because that'll be a better reflection of who you are now. But going back to my point, start with the why. So what is the lesson that you learned? And then you can think about different themes that are important to you, or even morals that are important to you. For me, when I was applying to college, one thing that I found to be incredibly important is a quote that my mom always told me, and I've mentioned this maybe in a few other videos, but she would always tell me that the largest room in the world is the room for improvement. And that translates to the idea that the process of learning never stops and that there is always more to learn. Everything is a learning opportunity, even when you make a mistake. And then through that thinking process, that's how I arrived to what is the key message of my essay and the response to the question, what did you learn from these experiences? My answer to that question was, I learned that a mistake is actually not a failure. It's just another opportunity to learn. And then I thought about what are the different mistakes that I've made throughout high school that can portray my growth and realization in terms of this thinking in the best light possible. And that's how I figured out what I wanted to write about. So always start with the why. And you can also start with the story, but always keep the why in the back of your mind, because that will shape the key part of the essay, which will center around how did this experience affect you and what did you learn from this experience. And this is the main way that you could differentiate yourself from all the other applicants, because the lesson that you learned may be generic, but the experience that you had that is tied to the lesson is key in describing who you are as a person, what values you have, what motivates you, and more. And this is really how you can engage the reader and write a unique college essay. I have a ton more tips to share, so I may make a part 2, we shall see. But I hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. Your support means everything to me and really helps me to continue to make videos like this. Feel free to leave any questions, suggestions, comments, praise in the comments, and I will be sure to answer them as soon as I can. If you are interested in getting one-on-one help with me, feel free to check out my website, which I will link in the description, but you can also find me at mycollegelead.com. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.